The other day, I was going live in my membership group called the Hustle and Grit Club. If you're not in there and you want to hustle/grow a business, you totally should be. I'll make sure I leave a link below in the description. But I was going live in there and I was teaching something, and I was using my iPad as kind of a whiteboard as I taught the thing I was teaching. And the amount of questions I got from people who were like, how are you doing that? What do I need to do this? Oh my gosh, how cool, whatever, was like off the charts. So it got me thinking about all the ways that I use my iPad to be more productive and really more like versatile in my business. So I thought I would show you some of those things, like how I use my iPad to be more productive, to really get more done, to be more versatile, all the things. Now, I have said this before, but I have the iPad Pro 12.9 inch 2020 model, but honestly, you can do most of these things on any of the iPads, the iPad Air, the new iPad minis, any of the older model iPads that, at least that have like the pencil, because some of the things I'm going to talk about have to do with that. And even Apple's kind of most basic iPad, which they never give a good name to. Like, these iPads need names for us to keep it apart. There's the iPad Pro, there's the Air, there's the Mini, and then these are usually just called the new iPad, the new one. I don't know, but it's kind of their most basic one, their cheapest model of an iPad. It is one that I have had in the past and I highly recommend. I do not think you need an iPad Pro to do anything I'm going to talk about today, or really to use an iPad to the best of its abilities. But my point is, no matter which model of iPad you have, you should be able to do most of the things I'm going to talk about. So number one thing that I use my iPad for to be a bit more productive is to take notes. Now, I actually did an entire video like last week about the new Apple Notes upgrades in iOS 15 and how I like to use it. But essentially, it really helps me take notes on the go, really be able to like jot things down really quickly. I carry my iPad with me almost everywhere. I have the Magic Keyboard, which still has some things I would change about it, but I just pop it in here, flop it in this, and take it with me. However, this does add a ton of weight to it, so I'm wanting to get some other options. But anyway, that's not the point. Carry my iPad with me nearly everywhere I go. So if I'm like sitting in the car line waiting for my kids to get out of school and I think of something I want to jot down, I have the ability to do that even with like the pencil and, being able to write it by hand and all of that stuff. But when I'm doing research for YouTube videos or for content that I'm going to create or Instagram post or like anything, I can quickly pull up like a quick note in the Apple Notes options and take a really quick note about the thing I'm looking at and even include a link, which really helps me keep the ball moving. So I tend to do a ton of like research and things on my iPad for one of the reasons I'm going to talk about in a minute. So it's really easy for me to quickly take notes and then have those notes be able to be viewed on my phone or whatever. I think the ability to split the screen on the iPad and view two different things at one time and go back and forth really, really easily with just like the swipe of a finger makes doing anything way quicker. So yes, of course, I can do that on my computer or whatever, but I think it's just like super, super easy on the iPad. And so there will be a lot of times when I am, I have ClickUp or my Apple Notes open in one side of the screen, and on the other side I have YouTube open or something where I'm doing research on videos or on things I want to do. And so it makes the workflow go much faster when I can see two things at once on the actual iPad. Oh, I almost forgot about this one, but this is a game changer. A game changer. You can actually use your iPad as a second screen. Now, I have a monstrositous iMac that I don't normally need a second screen with, but it can be really useful because sometimes, like if I want to, let's say I'm presenting, so I've been asked to speak at a virtual conference and I'm presenting a presentation at that virtual conference, and I want it to be full screen for the viewer, but I want to be able to see everything else that's going on and not take up my entire screen. Y'all know how that is. Like, that's super annoying. I can then use the iPad as a second screen, let that be where the display is coming from into the group I'm working with, and then still have my entire iMac to, see myself on camera or see my notes or whatever. So there's a ton of different reasons why you might need a second screen. That's just one of my reasons, but you can absolutely hook the iPad up and let it be a second screen for your computer. Now, this is normally how I do it. I will set it up on this laptop prop up situation that I got from Amazon and hook it up manually, hook it up with an actual cable to my iMac. All you really have to do is use Sidecar to be able to connect it as a display and drag whatever you want over to that second screen. Now, I think it's a very expensive second screen, so if you're going to want a second screen all the time, that's probably not how I would use it, but just every once in a while, or when you need a second screen and you aren't normally somebody who needs one like myself, it's a really great option for that. I will say it can be a little bit finicky. It took me a little bit to get mine hooked up. I had to do a lot of Googling. So if yours doesn't work at first, just do a quick Google search and figure out what might be going wrong. I don't really remember what was wrong with mine at first. I think it was my iPad wasn't updated enough, or my computer wasn't updated enough. I can't remember, but you can definitely do this. All right, so another way that I think that I use my iPad to be more productive is by using it for tasks rather than my computer, my desktop, or my laptop. I feel like it's just a bit more no fuss and less distracting. Now, there might be people who disagree with me on this because I can easily have Netflix playing in the bottom half of the screen or whatever, but I just think that it's much more because it's app-based, because it's an iPad, it's just easier to focus on the one thing you're doing and less easy to get distracted or have multiple tabs open or whatever. Not that you can't, I just think it's a little less fuss. And so for me, I really like to use it if I'm feeling distracted, if I feel like everything is bothering me or coming into my head. I really like to use my iPad as a way to kind of eliminate the fuss and just be productive with whatever I need to be productive with. This next one, the next two actually, are two of my favorite ways to use my iPad. They're probably the ways I use it the most, and the coolest things I think that an iPad is good for. The first one is that I use my iPad to work on notebooks digitally, or workbooks or PDFs or whatever digitally. So in my membership, the Hustle and Grit Club, we give a worksheet and a workbook with each training. So you get a worksheet with our shorter, more productivity-based trainings, and then a workbook with our longer hustle strategy trainings. And those workbooks are, I can't physically get them to everybody every single month. I would have to charge way more if I had to print workbooks and mail them to people. So those get delivered digitally as a PDF. We do a Google Doc, whatever. And not only with my own workbooks, but workbooks from conferences or, PDF versions of things that I have been, given in the past. I can just pull them up in GoodNotes and make notes on them right there in GoodNotes. So it's a digital version of a workbook, but I can use GoodNotes on my iPad to use it as if it were a physical version of the workbook. That is literally one of my favorite ways to use my iPad. I love when I get a digital workbook of some sort and I can just pop it in there. And on that kind of same note, I'm talking about being more productive, and this really doesn't have anything to do with work necessarily, although I have definitely used it for work documents before. But along that same line, when someone sends me a physical contract that I have to sign or some kind of physical paper I have to fill out that I can't digitally sign, the digital signature situation, just type in my name. Normally that would mean I would have to pull it up, print it, sign it, scan it back in or take a picture of it, and then re-email it. I actually use my iPad and will pull it out of wherever the email came from, straight from my iPad, and pull it into GoodNotes, sign it right there in GoodNotes, export it right back to email, and email it on. It really eliminates all the middle work with doing something like that. That wasn't actually on my list, But while we're talking about filling out physical pieces of paper with GoodNotes, I felt like it was worth a mention. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is what prompted this entire video, is using my iPad as kind of a whiteboard digitally. Now, this one might be a little hard to explain, so I'm definitely going to show as much of it as I can on the screen, but I do this a lot, especially in my membership community, because I'm constantly teaching them based on the workbook that they received or the worksheet that they received. But not only that, for me, I'm a visual learner and I'm also an external processor. So if I need to explain something, sometimes just drawing it out helps me better explain it, but also helps the people I'm trying to explain it to better see what I'm trying to do. And instead of like having a whiteboard where I would like need a camera closer to it because it would be too far away or something like that, I can just hook up my iPad to my computer and do a split screen with my live software in my group or on Zoom or whatever I'm trying to do it on, and actually draw out notes on this like digital whiteboard while I'm talking. I use Ecamm for Mac to like go live anywhere I want to go live. And that is how I'm able to, like, even on Facebook Live, I'm using Ecamm, so I'm able to pull in a second screen. Or even on Zoom, I'm able to do that and do like a split screen situation where on one side I'm drawing on like a whiteboard. It's actually just a blank piece of paper in GoodNotes on my iPad, and the people on the other side are seeing it on their screen. I can also show off how the workbooks work better, show off how you would fill out a worksheet that comes in Hustle and Grit Club, whatever. So I know that was just a few ways that I use my iPad to be more productive and, you know, be more versatile in my business, but those are some of my favorite ways. Now, if you want to know specifically how I do anything like step by step or something like that, let me know in the comments below. And I'd love to hear if there was something that I talked about today that you didn't know about yet. If there was something that I talked about today that like made you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I could do that. Drop that in the comments below too. And until next time, bye y'all.